Hello and welcome to the fifth session of spreadsheet training with Excel 2007. And what I thought we'd do today is I thought we'd start off by having a run through all of the processes and steps that might go on to create a spreadsheet that is at the correct standard for the level 2 course. So what I've got here is a football table, and this has just got some purely fictitious things on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to see how we can start with some basic information and then expand upon that information with the use of formulas and formatting to make it more presentable and to give the reader of the spreadsheet a lot more information. So first thing is we've been given, say, let's just imagine that we've been given this data. It's not particularly well formatted at all. For a start, we can see that we can't even see the names of the teams. So a nice first trick, this says goals scored, but we can only see goals S. So a nice little trick I like to start off with when I get a spreadsheet that looks like this is I click in the little gap between the A and the 1, which is the select all. And then I go across and you can see that my cursor changes to this sort of vertical line with 2 arrows either side of it. And that's for changing the width of a column, and obviously I don't want to do that. But if I double click on the column width changer, then what it does is it automatically, and I'll just click off to show you, that automatically resizes every column, and it resizes it to the width of the largest item within that column. So I think we've got this fictional, or maybe a real school, but fictional results. This Cheshire Oaks High School here. And that's the longest word in the column, or the longest collection of words in the column. And you can see it just makes the column just slightly wider than that entry. So nice quick way there. Okay, so what do we need to do? Well, we probably need to, I'm just going to make the column, we probably want a title to start off with. So I'm just going to insert a column, just right click. In fact, I think I might insert one more. Okay, and let's just call this spreadsheet of football results. Okay, and that looks quite good. Well, to start off with, but it's a title, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I can just roll over my cursor here to see what the different things would look like. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I think I'll bold it up because it is a title. It would probably look nicer if it was centered in the middle of these. So I'll select all of the column, all of the cells, and because what I've written is in the first cell, it won't get affected by this merge and center button. However, if it wasn't in the first cell, it would tend to delete it. So there we go. We've got straight away. We now got a title, which is always very important. People need to know what they're looking at. So let's go ahead and do some more formatting. Now, obviously, I could come down here and I could start filling things in different colours. I've chosen a hideous yellow there. But I'm just going to undo that, and I'm just going to show something else that we haven't really looked at yet, which is to do with styles. Okay, and there's a whole bunch. So we've looked at conditional formatting, which is sort of related very closely with styles, because what conditional formatting will do is apply certain styles based on results of formulas or the insert of data. But we've got this option to format as a table here, and I can just click on these different ones. I'll show you what happens there. So look at that straight away. That's formatted as a table. It's also auto-filtered my table for me. We looked at auto-filtered in the last session. And I'm quite happy with that because, with the auto-filtering, I can immediately then see, well, just show me all the games in which we won. Okay? I'll just turn that back on with select all. So I quite like that. I quite like my colours. Okay, and that was just by selecting the area I wanted and formatting it as a table, and we've got all these different, and these are just predefined colours. The other thing we've got is these these ones that are different colours, which will apply a variety of different colour settings. I'm not going to change it, but we could just have. You can see as I roll over. Actually, it's not applying. Actually, no, it's not applying. You can see the one cell changing colour, which is where I left my my cell highlighted. But we won't worry about that. But I'm just showing you that there are there are different colours that can be applied or formatting as a table. And the benefit of the formatting a table is, it puts on this auto filters as well. So that's really nice. So what would I do next? Well, I'm going to scroll down a bit. I think next we'd start doing a little bit of results. So here we've got take goals scored, and in the next column across, can't speak today. Next column across, we've got goals against, so the number of goals that have been let in. Just going to try one thing. Yeah, there we go. So what I did there was I did the same trick I did at the beginning, and because we've now got the little auto filter, or I think it's just called filter, isn't it, these days? But because we've now got the little filter arrows, I've just made the columns a little bit wider because it was just a little bit. If I do a before and after for you with Control Z, you can see that it's goals scored, goals. It's just going a little bit bit cramped. So it looks a little bit nicer like that. So let's see, how many goals did they score? Okay, so we'll total up here. So what would the sum be here? It'd be quite a simple one. So we're going to do a sum. I'm going to start with equals, open brackets. I'm going to use my mouse because this is normally how I would do things. And I've actually dragged down, look, I've dragged down one too many. I've gone down to E42, which would make it a loop sort of thing. So I actually want from E4 to E41. And luckily, the little blue box there helped me to see that I dragged it across too many. Press return, and we can see that they scored 69 goals in that period of time. And I'm just going to label that as total goals scored. Okay, and we'll do something with the formatting in a minute. Let's do the same for this one. And what I think I'll do is I will click and drag this to the right. Okay, and we know that dragging it, we've already got a different number. So total goals against. And what I'm doing is I'm just sort of showing you all the procedures that I go through. And yet again, we can see that it's just not quite wide enough to have that bit of information in there. So let's do, I'm going to do a little bit of formatting on this bottom one. I think I'll use, like I said, I'm just making this up as I go along. So there we go. That's the total number of goals scored and goals against. Here's an interesting one we can do. How long did the season last? Let's see. So it started, the first game was up here, we can see was the 1st of September 2010, and this went on till the 18th of May 2011. So essentially, I've just got two numbers here. I've got one number that's 18/05/2001, and at the top I've got 01/09/2010. Okay? Now, I can just subtract one number from another. In fact, let's go ahead and do that now. So we will say equals A41, get a little blue box, make sure I'm in the right place, and I'll subtract from that A4. So I'm just taking the date that it finished, and I'm subtracting from that the date that it started. And now, this is interesting, so I want to show you. And what do we get? Well, we get the 15th of the 9th, 1900. Now, what does that mean? Well, the reason it's showing us that date like that is because this whole row has been formatted to display as a date. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I need to format that cell. Okay? So I'll bring it up here, and you can see that it was formatted to display as a date. So it's going to try its best to display as a date. Okay? If I change it to a number, we get the result of 259.00. And I'm just looking at my little sample here, and I don't need to have the decimal places. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit OK. So what is that 259? Well, that 259 is the number of days from the start of the season to the end of the season, because we took the last date, we subtracted from it the first date, and so what's left over is the number of days in between, which is a really nice function. So I'll just label that. What should I call it? I'll call it number of days. Okay, and again, what do we notice? Well, we notice that we've just rolled the edge, and this time I'm not actually going to change it because I don't feel that I need to, because of just the way it looks. Because we're not going to add anything, I'm not going to put anything in B43 down here. I don't feel I need to add any. I don't feel I need to widen that column because all of the rest of the information is just these dates. And there's no reason to have a big wide gap there. So I think we can already see quite dramatically that our spreadsheet is certainly massively improving how it looks. Okay, so we've done some basic formulas here. This is quite a nice one, although it's a simple mathematical formula of A41 minus A4. It is actually doing something a little bit more complicated. You know, we're subtracting dates from one another, and then remember we went in and formatted that to display as a number rather than as a date, as it was the whole column was just formatted to display dates. And these two are just traditional sum formulas that are just summing everything up above it. Okay, so now let's start pushing it a little bit further. And what we'll do is we'll see. So we can see there that we've scored 69 goals and we've had 56 goals scored against us. So let's see what our goal difference is. It could come down, it could be an important measure at some point in the season. So we'll have goal difference in column H. I'll just expand that out. Now, what would the goal difference sum be? Well, we would take the result of our formula here, and from that we would subtract the result of this formula, okay? And subtracting the results of formulas is exactly the same as just subtracting any old number. So I'll do this clicking the mouse this time. So this one's going to equal this, which is E42 minus F42. Press return. 13. So we're plus 13. That's really that's good. And sometimes we might do some statistical work on that if I can actually say it. So let's we know how many days the season was by our date subtraction that we did earlier. Let's see how many games they played in the season. Okay, now how would we do that? How would we work out how many games that we've played? Well, it's really an exercise in counting. We can see here that each of these columns, each of these rows, I beg your pardon, is a different game. So what we need to do is add up the number of rows. Okay, so let's call it number of games played. Okay, immediately I've gone over the length, the width of my cell, so I'll just give that a quick double click. I like that double click. So how do we count up? Okay, well, we count in a very similar way to we sum, but an important thing to know is that we can only count fields that have got numbers in, or the basic count formula only counts things with numbers in. There are ways of counting other fields, but we'll just look at the basic count one. So let's have a look. So what we're going to say is we're going to do equals, because all formulas start with equals. I'm going to say equals count. Okay, and it says count the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. Okay, count A, count the number of cells in a range that are not empty. Okay, so there's two different ways we can do this, but let's just we'll just do it the first one. So equals count. Think of that like equals sum. All right, equals sum. You give it a region, a range, and you add it up. Well, count works exactly the same way. Equals count, open brackets, click and drag all the way down here, close brackets, press return, we get the answer 38. Okay, and that's you can tell that that's roughly right, can't you? Because if we start at 4 and we go down to 41, and bearing in mind that we're counting, you know, there is data in the fourth one, so that would give us 38 entries. Okay, So that was good. So that's an interesting one. So we've just done count. Okay. Now let's look at how many games we won. Okay. So what we just need to do is we just need to go count how many times we've won. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Right. Let's instead of doing it that way, let's get the computer to do it for us. So number of games won, and we're going to use the countif formula, which works exactly. So we just saw count formula, count, and then we typed in a range. So let's do countif, and let's start off exactly the same way. So we do countif, open brackets, give it a range. So we're gonna choose this column here with all of the the things that we've won and lost. Now this is the only slightly part where we divert from. So that's exactly the same as the previous formula, apart from it says countif instead of count. The only last thing for us to tell it is what do we want to count. That's it. So the way we do that, and the way a lot of formulas work is you simply separate using a comma. So we've given it the range. We're totally happy with what at the moment we totally understand that we're counting in this range between D4 and D41. I'm going to do a comma. And then look, you can even see the little auto pop-up that's come up, and it just says criteria. What do we want to count? Well, let's count. Let me find the cell that we won a game in. Well, look, we won one there in D9. Now, I could just click on it. In fact, I will. Okay, and then I'm going to close my brackets. And so what we're saying is, in the blue area, okay, that we can see in the big blue rectangle, count how many times the thing in the little green rectangle occurs. Okay, so let's have a quick click through manually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, I think. Probably a bad idea. Yay, thank God for that. you could counting on the screen with this pen, you probably heard the tapping. But good, we counted it right. So let's just look at the formula again. So count if something is there. That's all the countif means. Count if something is there. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it for the number of games lost. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take number of games won, copy it down, and just change the 1 to lost. So let's write this one out instead of clicking and dragging it this time. So equals countif. So countif. What's my range? Well, my range is D4 colon D4 to D41. Okay, and then I have to do a comma. I can see it's got here, it says range in bold, then a comma, and then the criteria. So I put my comma in, and my criteria is going to be any game we lost. Now, I'll show you another way of doing it in a second, but the game we lost is in D4. It's got the same text that we want to count. So I'll just put D4 in, close my brackets, press return. So we won 15, we won 20 games, we lost 15. All right, let's do it one more time. Number of games drawn. All right. And what I'm going to do is I would do it, if it was me doing it, I would do a mixture of keyboard and mouse. I like to type in the formulas, and I like to click and drag there. Then I do a comma, then it says, I find one that says drew, close my bracket. So we drew 3 games. And we can also check that that equals the number of games played. So we got 20 plus 15 is 35 plus 3 is 38. So we know that those formulas have worked out really well there because we haven't got the wrong number. All right, so let's carry on with this. I'll just show you a slightly different way of doing it. So number of home games. Again, we want to do a countif. I'm going to start off exactly the same way. I'm just going to write it out. Well, I do it the way I would normally do it. So countif. I want to count in this column. All right, comma. Now the criteria. This time, I'm not going to specify a box that the criteria is. So I could say click on C5 here, or I could click on C7, or I could click on C8, or I can just write the word I wanted to count. The only thing when writing words is you just have to put them in quotes, speech marks. Okay, so as long as you know that, it's no problem. So I'm going to just type in the word home, close my brackets, press return. There are 25 home games. Let's do the number of away games. So number of home games, let's just change the word home to away. By the way, I just double clicked on that word to select it. Equals countif, open brackets, choose my range, comma, open quotes, away. Now, let's test something. Okay, I'm going to write away with a capital A. Okay, I want to see if it's case sensitive, and it isn't. So that's good to know. Okay, so it's not case sensitive, it's purely counting that word. However, if I was to have away with, and I accidentally put a space or two at the end of it, no, it doesn't like that. All right, so it's got to be exactly the word you're looking for, but case is irrelevant. Okay, so number of games there, 13. Okay, let's have a look at something else. So I think we've done plenty of formulas there, some good countifs, some normal counts. We've shown you the two different ways of doing countifs, where you either specify a cell that whatever data is in that wants to be counted, like we did here. We just specified D9 or D4 or D23, and those cells had the word won, lost or draw in, or we actually wrote the word home or we wrote the word away. Either case doesn't matter. Let's select this area, and I'm not going to format it as a table this time because it isn't a table. There's no sort of headings or things like that. But let's just pick a little bit of colour and see what we look like. See what it looks like. I can hover over it. Not really liking any of these, to be honest. Let's have a look at that. Okay, and I'll just double click here. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. Something's a bit going on with the height. That's better. There we go. So just a little bit of formatting that was immediately applied to these cells using the styles, just like we did at the start of the game. So that all looks really good there. So next, what I think we should do is what we often ask for in the criteria is to have a graph. So we've got various things we could do graphs for here. I think a nice one with plenty of data points might be a graph of the number of goals we've scored. Okay, so let's highlight the goals scored column, not including the total. We don't need that. And then we're going to insert, and we can just choose the type of graph we want. I think I'll just do a column graph. Just click on the little arrow at the bottom to pick, just to see which sort of one. I think this 3D clustered one. Okay, and what that will do is that will just drop that there, and I don't want that there. I want it on its own sheet. So I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to choose cut to cut it away from here. And then let's go to sheet 1 and let's paste it here. Alright, it's a bit small, can't read it very well. Let's make it nice and big. Excellent, so that's looking a lot better. But what, if you're looking at this graph, you've got no idea what it all means. So we need to do some work to it. We can see that the green bar along the top here has appeared because we're working with a chart. Click off of it, the chart, that part goes, we'll click back on it again. I'm happy enough with the design of it. I might do it in a green. Let's do it in a green. In fact, any more exciting ones? What does that look like? Yeah. All right, we'll have that. But mainly it's the layout that I'd like to, I want to format here. So what is the first thing we need? I think we need a chart title. Always need a chart title. So that pops it in. Double click on it to be able to edit it. So number of goals scored per game. All right, that's good. Then we probably need to label the axes. So let's go primary vertical axis, and we'll have it display rotated. Yeah, this is a good one to choose. Goals scored. I keep doing that. But you know, I think the program would be better if it automatically highlighted that area. Goals scored. Okay. And then what is this along the bottom? Well, this is purely just different weeks of games. So let's give that a title as well. So it's a horizontal axis. So it really should automatically highlight down here. This is the game in weeks. Okay, that's great. We don't need to have the legend there, so let's turn that off. Okay. Do we think that looks slightly, the chart title, is it looking a little bit? Let's have I'm just going to compare it to but I think that looks nicer. So what I did there was I just changed it to, you can have it inside of the chart, but it just looked a little bit messy to me. So I've just gone above the chart. So let's just have a little look. So we've got a clear graph that's nicely laid out with different, with a nice graphical style. I like that. You can easily read what it is. Number of goals scored per game is the title of the chart. You've got the axes on both sides labelled. I think that graph works perfectly for what we're doing there. We also ask often that in one of the spreadsheets that an image is inserted. So let's have a quick look at doing that. We've got to insert choose picture. I've got a little thing here, a fake logo, because it's a fake football club. That's come in very big. So one of the screenshots you do is resizing it. So I'm just going to grab the corner there, just drag that up. Just have that, you know. Now notice I'm struggling to position it. So what I'm going to do is switch to my cursor keys, where I can just gently tap the cursor keys around. I think that looks fine. I mean, it is there. I may or possibly have wanted it in the top corner. I can cut and paste this and move this around a little bit, but that's fine. One of the other things we like to look at is looking at the header and footer. So let's just do. I don't know whether this would actually be printed out. Let's do a print preview. So this is in landscape mode, and you can see the problem with this is we're not getting all of the information on one page. Okay, so there's ways around that. What I may do for this one, let's have a look. Let's see how it looks in portrait. So I'll do a print preview. There's a variety of different ways you can get to print preview. There. Now, I think that would probably be the way to go about doing it. Maybe just tidy up a tiny bit of that line there. But so one page is just the table, and the second page is just the statistics. But it depends whether you're having whether the actual information is going to be printed out. If it's not going to be printed out, if it's just going to be on the screen, then don't make any changes. It's however it looks on the screen. And the other thing we've just got going on is a little footer that I just wrote here, created by Fake Team Inc. 2012, which was just a customized footer. We can choose whether it goes on the left or the right, and you see that when we do a print preview from here, on the bottom of every one we've got created by Fake Team Inc. Okay, so it's just part of the skill. So what we've done today, hopefully, is just gone through. You know, it's taken half an hour. Obviously, we already had the data. Because you're hopefully going to have the data from wherever, and then so we just looked at a whole different things. We formatted it, we did a whole variety of formulas, we inserted pictures, we created a graph, and what we're looking at here is a good quality level 2 spreadsheet. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again in the next session.